Thank you so much for joining us this morning for the monthly employment data media release call. My name is Lee McGowan, and I serve as press secretary for the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity. Joining me here is Jimmy Heckman, Bureau Chief for Workforce Statistics and Economic Research. At the conclusion of this presentation, we will be taking questions from credentialed media. To ask a question, please submit it through the Teams chat feature, since we will not be able to accept questions through a private chat. We will address as many questions as possible, but if your question is not covered, please email media@deo.myflorida.com and our teams will work to get you an answer. Today's presentation is focused on employment data for May 2023. If you have questions regarding other DEO topics, you may also use the media@deo.myflorida.com email address to connect with our communications and external affairs team. I will now turn it over to Jimmy.
Thank you, Lee, and thank you everybody for joining this morning. At 10 o'clock this morning, the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity released May 2023 labor statistics for the state of Florida, as well as its sub-state areas, including all metropolitan areas, counties, and large cities. These data were produced by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics through a federal-state cooperative agreement with DEO. These data were collected by a combination of employer and household surveys, administrative records, and statistical modeling techniques. Florida's unemployment rate, total labor force, and labor force participation rate are published under the Local Area Unemployment Statistics Program, using information collected by the Current Population Survey. These statistics are based on a survey of households, and they capture information about individuals as opposed to jobs, and they are calculated by place of residence as opposed to place of work. Florida's seasonally adjusted unemployment rate for May 2023 was 2.6%. Unchanged from the April 2023 rate, and a decrease of 0.3% from May of last year. The national unemployment rate increased from 3.4% to 3.7% in May. Florida's unemployment rate is now 1.1 percentage points lower than the national rate and has remained lower for 31 consecutive months since November of 2020. Monroe County had the state's lowest unemployment rate at 1.7%, followed by Miami-Dade County at 2.2%, and Gulf and Okaloosa counties at 2.3% each. In May 2023, Hendry County had the highest unemployment rate at 4.1%, followed by Highlands County at 4.0% and Citrus County at 3.9%. The unemployment rate of 2.6% in May 2023 represented 287,000 jobless individuals out of a labor force of 10,998,000. Total employment increased by 32,000, or 0.3% in May, while unemployment also increased by 6,000, or 2.1%. Florida's labor force of 10,998,000, which is composed of all currently employed workers, as well as unemployed job seekers who are actively looking for work, increased by 38,000, or 0.3% from the month prior. Please give us a minute while we wait for the next slide. So this graphic visualizes that over the year percent change in Florida's labor force, shown in blue, versus the labor force in the United States, shown in green. As of May 2023, Florida's labor force has grown by 2.3% over the year. This was faster than the national labor force growth rate of 1.5% over the same time period. Florida's over-the-year labor force growth has now outpaced the national growth rate since June of 2021. Job creation data for Florida is derived from the Current Employment Statistics, or CES survey, conducted by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. The CES survey collects data from over 40,000 Florida businesses and establishments each month to measure jobs by industry across the state. These statistics are based on a survey of employers, so they measure counts of jobs as opposed to individuals, and they capture characteristics of employers, such as industry and place of work. Total non-agricultural employment in Florida rose to 9,726,100 jobs in May 2023, up 17,500 jobs, or 0.2% from the month prior. This figure is up 346,600 jobs from 1 year ago, which is an over-the-year increase of 3.7%. Florida's private sector employment was 8,613,500 jobs in May 2023, up 17,200 jobs, or 0.2% prior. Total private employment was up 323,400 jobs from May 2022. This is an over-the-year increase of 3.9%. 5 of the 10 industry super sectors in Florida gained jobs over the month. Education and health services gained the most jobs, increasing by 8,800 jobs, or 0.6%, followed by professional business services, adding 6,200 jobs at 0.4%, and leisure and hospitality adding 3,700 jobs at 0.3%. Trade, transportation, and utilities lost the most jobs over the month, declining by 1,600 jobs, or 0.1%, followed by manufacturing, declining by 900 jobs, or 0.2%, and information declining by 800 jobs, or 0.5%. This is the 5th consecutive month of job losses in the construction sector. The majority of these losses are concentrated in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm metropolitan statistical area, while other areas, notably the Jacksonville and Tampa, St. Petersburg, Clearwater metro area, have added construction jobs over the same time period. Here we show the over-the-year change in employment by industry supersector between May 2022 and May 2023. In Florida, shown in blue, compared to the United States, shown in green. All industries have added jobs over the year, with the exception of information, which declined by 2.4%. Florida has experienced faster than nationwide growth rates in 6 of the 10 major industry sectors. The fastest growing Florida industries over the past year have been education and health services at 7.2%, leisure and hospitality at 7.0%, and professional and business services at 3.1%. The slowest growing industries were information, declining by 2.4%, construction growing at 1.0%, and government growing by 2.1%. The map pictured here shows seasonally adjusted over the month job growth by local metro area in May 2023. 20 of the 24 metro areas in Florida had over the month job gains. The Homosassa Springs MSA metropolitan statistical area grew at a rate of 1.1% in May 2023, the fastest job growth among all Florida metro areas. The Ocala and Port St. Lucie areas were the second fastest growing areas at 0.6% each over the month, followed by Punta Gorda, Tallahassee, and the Miami Beach, Kendall areas at 0.5% each. The metro areas that added the most jobs in May were the Tampa, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, and Miami Beach, Kendall areas, adding 6,400 jobs each, and the Orlando, Kissimmee, Sanford MSA adding 3,500 jobs. No metro areas in Florida lost jobs over the month in May 2023. Thank you all so much for joining us for this morning's rate release presentation for May 2023. This concludes the presentation. I'll be happy to field any questions from credentialed media.
Tom Urban asks, given that the unemployment rate has held steady at 2.6% for the 5th month in a row, is it possible that this is about as low as the rate can get? Also, do we expect to see job losses in the construction industry to continue?
That's a very good question. So obviously 2.6% is a very, very low unemployment rate by historical standards. It's very close to the lowest rate that we've ever seen in the state. I will say that Florida is a growing state. We see a lot of, Florida's had the most new business formations of any state in the country over the past 3 years. Florida's seen also a lot of people coming to the state, specifically looking for work, taking jobs that used to work out of state. So there's just a lot of areas of growth in the state, and it's really hard to say in one direction or another whether or not there's room to see a lower unemployment rate. But I think those factors really make it, a strong possibility that we could see lower unemployment rates in the future. But again, 2.6 is a very, very low rate, and it's very close to the lowest rate we've ever seen in the state.
Thank you, Jimmy. Charles Murphy asks, isn't it historical that unemployment usually goes up in the summer in Florida with tourism down and hotter temperatures?
That is true. We do usually see higher unemployment rates in the summer. It's important to distinguish that some of the data that we publish is published on what we call a seasonally adjusted basis. That is all the data that we talked about here this morning is that seasonally adjusted data, which is supposed to take into account seasonal factors, which is why we didn't see a rise in the unemployment rate here in May this month. If you look at the not seasonally adjusted data, you will see a higher unemployment rate, but that is factoring in factors or effects that we typically see at this time of year. Schools closing is a big driver of unemployment rates rising in May and June. Again, that will only show up in the not seasonally adjusted data. The data that we showed here this morning reflect, try to incorporate those factors and only look at effects that we can anticipate on a month-to-month basis based on previous year's activity.
Great, thank you all for joining us today for the May 2023 rate release. If you have any additional questions, please email media@deo.myflorida.com. We look forward to having you for our next rate release for June 2023 statistics on July 21st, 2023. Thank you.